Hello, Zimbabwe, and welcome to LiveTalk Women's Roundtable, where we discuss about issues affecting women. We're coming to you live from Studio 7 at the Voice of America in Washington, and I'm your host, Marvelous Mhlanga-Nyahuye. Today we are discussing International Women's Day. This day is celebrated annually on March the 8th. We'll also look at Women's History Month celebrated in March. But first, let's take a look at what is happening in the United States. U.S. President Joe Biden would deliver his election year State of the Union address Thursday, where he's expected to discuss his handling of the economy, reproductive rights, immigration, and the Ukraine and Gaza conflicts. But the 81-year-old will also use the occasion to demonstrate he is physically and mentally fit for a second term. VOA White House correspondent Anita Powell reports from Washington.
His election year State of the Union address gives President Joe Biden a one-hour spotlight for his re-election bid, letting him tout his work on issues voters care about, like the economy, immigration, reproductive rights, and aid to Ukraine and Israel, and, hovering over it all, the alternative if he loses. It's a tall order for any president, but Biden also faces opposition over something he cannot change.
The American public remains concerned about Biden's age, and that is, I think, a key challenge he will have to get past while making the case for his re-election.
The White House told VOA the president will focus on issues.
He's very much looking forward to the opportunity to talk to the American people, to the Congress, and actually, quite frankly, the world, about all the incredible things that he has accomplished in these 3.5 years as President of the United States, from the economy to education to healthcare to employment, as well as on the world stage, and really restoring American leadership on the world stage.
Presidential analysts say Biden's words will center on policy, but the sizzle will come from his delivery and audience interactions.
I think he relishes being in the well of the House and mixing it up with members of Congress. The highlight of his State of the Union experience has been the moments when Republicans have rudely challenged him during his speech, even heckling him, and he's responded with alacrity, humor, and irony, and quite a lot of efficacy.
Foreign policy analysts expect Biden to highlight the conflict in Gaza, noting that he has invited relatives of Americans taken hostage by Hamas to attend the speech.
Previous State of the Unions have tilted a little bit more towards domestic issues. Of course, there's a domestic component to the foreign policy situation, particularly with the conflict in the Middle East. But this is definitely going to take up a lot of President Biden's focus, because that's what's on people's minds as well.
Pollsters say another man is on voters' minds as well.
For Biden, then, the key thing is showing that he can win the election against Trump. That's really the key thing he's going to have to show, even more than any sort of, is he doing a good job with the economy or immigration or any of these other issues.
Biden gets his chance to answer that Thursday night. Anita Powell, VOA News, Washington.
Commemoration for Women's History Month started on the March the 4th in the United States, where the United States First Lady Joe Biden, in conjunction with the State Department, honored women from all over the world with the Women of Courage Award. Although Zimbabwe was not selected this year, previous winners include rights activist Rita Nyampinga, human rights activist Justina Mukoko, and rights defender Beatrice Mutetwa. International Women's Day is designed to renew the world's collective commitment in achieving gender equality. According to the United Nations, this year's theme is Invest in Women, Accelerate Progress. Next week, the United Nations will host the 68th session of the Status of Women in New York from March the 11th to the 22nd. Several Zimbabwean government and rights activists are expected to attend the event. Addressing journalists in Harare today, Women Affairs Minister Monica Muchangwa said International Women's Day commemorations will be held tomorrow in Shurugwi and Midlands Province. Minister Muchangwa said one of the major issues affecting women in Zimbabwe are gender-based violence and child marriages. Here's what she had to say at the event.
Clearly, the issues which have kept women behind in this country, and this is why we are all very concerned with all our development partners. Gender-based violence is one, and that is a serious, serious challenge. We need to deal with that. I know a lot of effort has been put, but we still have numbers of gender-based violence going high, and that has got to be dealt with. Issues of marrying children at a very tender age, that takes away that talent, because as we are born, whether you are a baby girl or a baby boy, you are born with some kind of talent, and we are saying, and this is why we are involving all stakeholders, chiefs, religious leaders, to say allow the girl child, the boy child to really harness that talent so that it will help the development of this country. So we will continue working with everybody to deal with those issues. Issues of funding. And historically we know that women have always been left behind. They have no means of conducting. And this is why the government has come up with the Women Microfinance Bank. This specifically targets women because they don't have access to loans due to the fact that they don't have collateral. So the Women's Microfinance Bank give collateral-free loans, and the percentage of interest rates has to be kept low so that women can actually start these empowerment projects. We are also aware of the fact that they need training, education. We are happy we do have academia within this room. The issue of making
That was Women's Affairs Minister Monica Muchangwa speaking in Harare. Speaking at the same event, Ruvimbo Nyikadzino, director of She Rose, said sexual harassment is a challenge in the media industry and other places of work.
I'm quite excited to be part of the celebrations of the Women's Month, especially as a young woman who is in media. Over the years, stereotypes around women participating in these key areas and which were previously dominated by men has been quite challenging. And being part of this discourse, being part of this great platform for us as young women to be also be disseminating information and giving maybe analysis on critical issues as women, it's quite a milestone. And also just to speak about issues of sexual harassment, which is quite dominant, as much as we have advocated for a sexual harassment policy, but a little has been done. So I think as we also celebrate the Women's Month, it is quite critical to also bring forward such issues for them to be addressed. We also advocate for maybe social harassment policies to be in place, even in the newsrooms that we work in the media house that we work in, for them to be committed and maybe vow that the rights of women be respected, because this has been quite a setback for many women to get into media because of the stereotypes around that area. So as we celebrate, yes, but we also celebrate the inclusion of women.
That was Ruvimbo Nyikadzino, director of She Rose, a women's rights organization, speaking in Harare. A recent law graduate from the University of Zimbabwe, Nadia Mutisi, said International Women's Day and the Women's Month should be taken as an opportunity to reflect on female students' issues such as sexual harassment and other issues.
In celebration and commemoration of International Women's Month, that is the month of March, as well as International Women's Day, 8 March, I'd like to speak on the struggles that young women, particularly female students, are facing here in Zimbabwe. Firstly, I'd like to address the issue of sexual exploitation in universities. You find that most young women are probably paying for their own school fees and therefore become prey to sugar daddies or even boys and young men at the university institutions. For example, in some of the university institutions, there is a big issue of pimping out of young women. This is done by people that you know, your friends, sometimes your family, your uncles, people who personally know these young women are pimping them out in order for them to make money. But secondly, there's an issue as well with respect to the education system, where young women do not have access to different kinds of opportunities, number one, but also different kinds of media, as well as technologies that young women should be able to use. As such, you find that young women get into compromising situations in order for them to be able to get ahead.
An unidentified Harare resident who has been a vendor for more than a decade criticized the crackdown on street vendors by the municipal police, saying they are losing their ways, resulting in them failing to make ends meet. Let's hear what she had to say.
Right now ndifunga tatana 22 years ndiri munhu akashayikwa nomurume asi kurarama kwangu ndiko kwamuri kungoona kwokutengesa ndorarama nokutengesa saka panguva ino yatiri ndinotaridza kubatikana kwakanyanyisa nekuti gore rino takatasana naro kana kupembera kwamukuita mangwana handisi kuti tiri kufara semadzimai nezviri kuitika mukati menyika yedu yeZimbabwe ndochinhu chokutanga raramo kuti ndikudze vana ndifunga ndakakudza neizvozvo semunhu akafirwawo handina chikoro chakanyanya asi ndaiti kutengesa kwanenchiita uga uko ndinoona kuti mhuri dzangu dzaiyaruka nekutengesa asi iro rino gore ratakasarisana naro 2024 uno wati uno gore rino hakuna kunaya mvura drought yega yega zviti kana chikafu kana chekudya kana mashoko zvinhu zviri kungokwira zviri kutodhura saka takatarisana izvozvo zvese tachingoti takatengesawo apa toona chokuraramisawo mhuri tikatengesawo toona chokuraramisa kana kubhadhara marenzi hatina dzimba totorarama nekutengesa chibhadharawo marenzi vana vechikoro vachienda kuchikoro.
Aiwa, avo vanga vari mumwe mudzimai anoita basa rekutengesa vari muHarare, asi vati havadi kudomwa nezita vachiti zuva ramangwana izuva rekuremekedza madzimai, asi kwavari harireve chunhu sezvo vari kunonga svosve nemuromo. Please stay tuned as we take a brief break. We'll be right back.
In times of change, when the world seems uncertain, and what we hear doesn't reflect what we see, we seek the truth. When we are told only part of the story, we lose trust. In moments of crisis, our dreams, hopes, and wishes for a better tomorrow depends on a free press. At Voice of America, we bring you the stories that people take risks to see. We connect the world and unite it with truth. At Voice of America, we show you the whole picture.
For those that have just joined us, please note that we are streaming this discussion live on all our Facebook pages, VOA Shona, VOA Studio 7, and VOA Ndebele. And we're also live on YouTube at VOA Zimbabwe. You can also find us on our website, www.voandebele.com, also www.voashona.com, and www.voazimbabwe.com. Send us your messages right now on all our social media platforms and we'll read them out. For those also who have just joined us, please note that, like we said before, you can actually find us on all our social media platforms. And today we are actually discussing International Women's Day commemorations. We'll also be talking about Women's History Month celebrated in March. And to discuss this issue, we are joined by Ronica Mumbire of the Zimbabwe Women's Bureau, and we are joined via Skype by Teresa Dangwa of Dangwa Consultancy and Lucy Ndongwe Chikowore of MTC USA. But I'll start off with you, Ms. Teresa Dangwa on Skype. Tell us a little bit about your organization and what it's doing to assist women as women are celebrated this month.
Thank you so much for joining me. Even though the world is doing this just in this 1 month, for us it's an everyday thing. Our desire is to encourage every woman to live out their God-given purpose. So in that regards, I would like to share 3 forums in which we are commemorating women every day, but particularly in this month where we are encouraging, pushing the encouragement for women to live out their God-given purpose. Dangwa Consulting is based in New York, but our services are that are all over the world. We provide to women, we provide remote work for those in Zimbabwe as well as in Pakistan, individuals who have finished college, women who have finished college, but everywhere they turn, either they cannot get employment because work is not available, or there isn't enough work within their native country, that is in Zimbabwe and Pakistan, whether there is not enough work, or because they don't have the relevant experience. So we are encouraging these young women whom we are training to be able to also participate in their economy, in their respective economies, by working remotely. So we offer them jobs that are based in the US, but they are working from a home. They are working right from their living room, from their room, from wherever they live, as long as they have a phone and a laptop and access to an internet. Reliable access to internet.
Thank you.
The second thing.
I'll come back to you, but let's give a chance to the other ladies, because we have someone calling. We are calling from Zimbabwe, so I wanted to give them an opportunity to come onto the program. As we know, lines, can sometimes be very tricky. So I'll come to you from Ronica Mumbire of the Zimbabwe Women's Bureau. Tell us a little bit about what your organization does and how you're going to be commemorating Women's Month and International Women's Day tomorrow.
Thank you very much for the invite. So we are a national women's organization. We are also a membership organization, and we work with women on issues of gender equality, also trying to break barriers that impede gender equality. And some of the things that we do include empowering women empowering women to be able to demand their rights, including issues of leadership, work around gender-based violence, food security. We also work around issues to do with the environment, energy, and issues of climate change, issues of unpaid care work with the women. So for tomorrow, we are issuing out a statement, a strong statement on issues of gender equality, encouraging even the government to be able to uphold what we committed to as a nation in our constitution that was signed in 2013 by our president. So it is one of the things that we are going to do. But because we work more with women within the rural communities, we want to make sure that they also are part of what will be happening. Usually these commemorations are done at very high profile. We also want them to feel that something is happening that concerns women. That we do is to use our champions in the rural areas to be able to reach out, organize different activities within the rural communities. And also we are going to be blasting SMSs to the women, reminding them of the special day.
Thank you. I'll come back to you in a little bit. Let's now switch over to Miss Lucy Ndongwe Chikowero of MTC, United States. We see there's a CSW coming up in New York next week. Is your organization going, and what are you going to be offering to the women and girls?
Yes, my name is Lucy Ndongwe Chikowero. I'm based here in the United States, but our operations are in Zimbabwe. That is rural Zimbabwe, Mani and in the Mashonaland West. We have girls who will be participating at this global event, the Commission on Status of Women, that is going to be held in New York. We have, as an organization, as MTC, we have facilitated so that these girls can have their voices unfiltered, because we have the tendency on speaking on behalf of other people. But we are saying, girls, bring your lived experiences, and we are going to offer the platform for you to speak to the world about your lived experiences. So on the 14th of March, we are going to have an event for the girls in rural Zimbabwe, rural Kenya, that is and girls from the Maasai community in Tanzania, and those from here in the United States. They will be speaking about the theme of this year, which is focusing more on accelerating the achievement of gender equality and the empowerment of all women and girls by addressing poverty and strengthening institutions. So the girls will be speaking about poverty from a gender perspective, from a girl's perspective. And also, we are going to be having people like the Gender Commission CEO and other respectable people like the Deputy Executive Director of UN Women, who also grace our event, to be listening to these girls so that they can also implement the contributions by the girls wherever they are making the policy frameworks. So we are having girls at the CSW that is happening next week, yes.
Thank you very much. I'll come back to you, Ms. Dangwa. Tombopinda mururimi rwamai kuti mataura imi kuti munowanikwa imi muchishanda nevanhu padande mutande. Zviri kufamba sei? Takanyanyotarisa nevasikana vazhinji vakapedza mabasa, asi vazhinji vari kutaura kuti munyika hamuna mabasa. Tanzwa amai vanga vari kutaura ivo kuti vanotengesa pamusika zvinhu hazvina kumira zvakanaka, uyezve vari kungoti zuva ramangwana harireve chinhu kwavari nekuti zvinhu hazvina kuvamirira zvakanaka. Imi muri kubatsira sei vana vakapedza zvikoro?
Tiri kuvabatsira mukuti kunyanyisa vanasikana vachangopedza macolleges vari kushayiwa mabasa nekuda nenhama yekuti sezvamataura kuti kumusha mabasa hakuna, asi kwane mamwe mabasa anokwanisika kuitika munhu uri kumba kwako. Hazvireve haufanire kutsvaga visa kana work permit, unogona kuzviita basa iroro uri ikoko. Isusu tiri kuno tiri kubatsira kutsvaga basa iroro, woriita uri ikoko woitawo basa rako nemazvo. Isusu tokukonekta nevanhu vari kuno vari kutsvaga vanhu vari kutsvaga mabasa avari kuda kuitirwa. Kana uri munhu achangobva kuchikoro unogona kunge uri kutadza kuwana basa nekuda kwokuti uri kunzi hauna experience. Aiwa, ndosaka tiripo tokubatsira, tokutraina, tokupai training iyoyo yekuti ukwanise kunge newewo uchiwanawo mabasa ekuita panhande mutande.
Aiwa, chimbobatai makadaro. Regai timbotora kola. Halo kola, makadii? Kola, hello.
Makadii.
Aiwa, tiri wadi. Tiri kutaura nani, muri kupi?
Mutora nababa vamoyo kuno South Africa.
Ehe, taurai tinzwe vamoyo. Muri kunzwa iri mudandaro iyi uno mwedzi wemadzimai, munoti iyi?
Chandinoda kuti ndosaka taisa nhamba dzedu tifone, regai nditikwanise vese. Mwedzi uno wemadzimai nezuva iri izuva rakakosha zvikuru, nokuti chandinoda kutanga kutaura zvikuru titarisa madzimai. Ndofunga kuti taitokurura nenyaya yemadzimai tiri panapa. Tine matinavo kuti madzimai anofanira kuti ave nezvaanoita muupenyu kana rababa chinge wazotorwa naMwari. Zuva ranhasi zuva guru rakakosha zvikuru, tichirangarira mabasa anobatwa nemadzimai epasi rose. Chinhu chekutanga unoona kuva madzimai, chinhu chekutanga kusenga nhombo nokurera mwana uzokura, uye futi nemabasa ose anoita madzimai akasiyana siyana. Kune madzimai mazhinji achiri kuona achiita mabasa akakosha, achimira pamberi pevanhu vazhinji vachiita mabasa akasiyana siyana, nokukurudzira, nokuvaka, nokuvakurudza, nokuonesa ramangwana. Saka mabasa akafanana iwawo tinotenda tiona madzimai zvakafanana nesiri vanhu vechirume tinofanira kurespekta madzimai kana achiita mabasa apo, nokuti nhasi uno tiri kuona nyika dzose vari kuita mapati emadzimai akasiyana, kusimudzira madzimai, uye futi madzimai haadi kumatorera pasi, anoda kuti atsigirwe. Uye tiri ana baba, ridzo dzenguva zvakafaneni amai vanogona kushanda basa rinogona kudarika rangu kana vanogona kukora mukoro kudarika wangu. Saka urana baba vose kunzoko tinofanira kuti remekedze madzimai nemabasa ose avanoita.
Aiwa, mufundisi ndimabva mavharisa magona kutaura, but line renyu manje harisi kunyatsonzwika, saka tokutendai. Regai titorewo vamwe vari panhare. Alo kola. Hello kola. Kola vanenge vadropa. Hello kola. We're still wanting to hear from the other caller, but I understand that they've dropped. Hello caller. Caller mukoma desire taurai tinzwe.
Muri sese.
Aiwa taurai tinzwe mukoma desire muri kuinzwa iri mudandaro iyi.
handiri kuinzwa zvangu.
Ingoti gaga kuti tibva tangopedzisa chirongwa taurai tinzwe. Aiwa, tinotenda. Thank you there, Koma Desire. I think he was having problems with his line, but that's okay. I'll come to you, Mai Ronika Mumbire. Mumbotsanangurawo kuti vanenge vachida kushanda nemi vanokuwana ipapi uye zvezvi zvamungavabatsire nazvo madzimai nyanya muZimbabwe imomo.
kuZimbabwe Women's Day tinowanikwa sezvandataura tinowanikwa pasi rose, asi pamusoro pemaofisi edu tinowanikwa panhamba 43 Hillside Road kuHillside. Tine ofisi zvakare kuBulawayo panhamba 27 Robert Mugabe Road. Foni dzedu dzinoti 0712882823. Rimwe basa ratinoita rinogona kubatanidza madzimai rakanangana nekuvasumudzira zvatiri kutaura nezvazvo zvine chokuita nekubatsirana nemadzimai kuti vakwanise kuwana mari yokuti vatange kuita maprojekti akasiyana siyana. Rimwe bandiko ratinaro ratakasimba pariri nderekupa mandonzi kumadzimai. Tinomaita nenzira dzakasiyana siyana dzinoita kuti madzimai anogara kunzvimbo dzakasiyana akwanise kuwana zvikwanisiro, asi tinobhilivha kuti iye mudzimai anokwanisa kuva anogona kuzvibatsira zvine chekuita naizvozvo. Saka tinokurudzira zvinhu zvakaita semikando nemaservice cooperatives anotungamirirwa neministry of women affairs. Saka tinoorganiza madzimai edu oita mikando uye togona kuvabatsira kuti varejiste vaite masavings and credit cooperatives. Asi isiwo zvakare tinogona kuzovabatsira kuti vaite mabasa avo emaoko akakura vachigona kumasumudzira kuti akure nokubatsirana nemaloni.
Aiwa, tinotenda chaizvo. Muve nezuva rakanaka. Amai Ronika Mumbire vesangano reZimbabwe vari kutaura nesu vari kuZimbabwe. Touya kwamuri Mai Chikowero, motipa mazwi enyu ekupedzisira kuti vanhu vangakuwanei kupi kana vada kushanda nemabasa amuri kuita?
Okay, tinowanikwa on the ground tiri kuChimanimani kwatine a free library that yakatangwa namaka MTC Community Library kuti vanasikana nemadzimai vawane access to books zviri free kuChimanimani district panonzi panedziwa. So ipapo ndo pamunokwanisa kutiwana. Padande mutande tiripo paFacebook MTC Educated Girl Inc. Then Twitter tiripo zvakare as MTC Educated Girl. Then zvakare pa website tiripo as mtceducatedgirl.org.
Thank you so much. Let's give the last chance now to Miss Teresa Dangwa. Where can people find you? And you can also say something just short, briefly in Ndebele. You are saying that you're offering jobs on the internet. I'm sure your inbox will be flooded, but say something in Ndebele so that our other listeners can also hear.
Okay, siyabonga kakhulu thina eDangwa Consulting sifuna ukuthi lisibambe ku +1 914 618 8800 ku WhatsApp. Sidinga abafazi abaqeda isikolo, abaqeda bona abakuma universities abafuna ukuthi besebenze bengikhaya bengadinga ama visa ukuthi bephume phandle kumbe engxenye le mali yangikhona ukudinga ama visa kabalayo, but thina sizalinika umsebenzi owangapho uyabhadala imali yakho ngama US ukhonapho ngikhaya.
Thank you there. We'll be sharing the links of all the ladies that we spoke to today for those that have just joined us, and that brings us to the end of our show. Signing off in Washington, I'm Marvelous Mhlanganya Huye.